somehow describe the life that I have been leading in this particular French society up to that point. The book is called in Spanish, and this is a irony joke called Vicio de Miami, because there was a famous television series at the time that was called Miami Vice. So in translation, only by translating it, and it becomes translating, it became something totally different. Also because in Spanish you can say, tengo un vicio, I have a vice for this or that. You can say, have a vice for condensed milk or something like that. It means that you have a craze, that you're crazy about something. So it had a double entendre. It was a double meaning, and it meant not only that I had seen this vicious or terrible underbelly of the city, but also that I had a liking for that particular man. And it's a book that, to this day, is one of the books about city life in Miami. But while working on the sonnet, I understood many things about rhyme and also about prosody and form in general. And I became quite good at it. Some of these sonnets I'm still proud of, some of it I'm not. But some of the sonnets are pretty good sonnets compared to the masters. So I said, look, I'm writing with poetry, and I'm writing with poetry in these classical forms. But then I understood that there was an ingredient of irony that you can only convey through formal poetry, and that this has been the case for a long period of time. That happened in American poetry and in poetry in English in general. But not only that, I understood that the whole history of Latin American poetry in what we call the modernismo, the modernist period, has been just a play on the theme of form and rhyme. Here's how. We have what we call, or what historians call, we mean is Parnassians in France going on, and at this moment, this Nicaraguan poet goes as an ambassador, went as an ambassador, an envoy to Paris, or he just visits Paris, and he comes in contact with this great movement in France that are experimenting with several different forms of meter and rhyme. So he comes back, and he creates this single-handedly, creates this new way of looking at poetry in Spanish, which is el modernismo. So, but el modernismo is an ironic look at the way in which the French were looking at form. This is something that it's seldom recognized or even analyzed, and the fact is these are the poetry by Darío, as opposed to Martí, the Cuban writer who is always noted as, or named the father of the modernism. Martí was a very serious poet, but Darío was a comic poet. So he was making fun of this Parisian obsession with form. And just a few years after him comes Villegas, the great Peruvian poet, with his Heraldos Negros. I don't know how to translate that in Black Herald. The Black Herald, the great poetry book by Peruvian Cesar Villegas. And then a further level of irony comes into play in Latin American poetry, because those Heraldos Negros, the Black Herald, is in turn a take on the modernistic use of form and rhyme. So we have two levels of irony. So by the time that the poets like that we come and make a further use of form in poetry, there's like three levels of irony into the thing, not counting the human poets before Salisbury, the before Salisbury, like Beitama, who were already bringing or taking the formal capacities of poetry and taking them to the extreme, to extremes in which they kind of dissolved. They just went off and disappeared. And the poems by Beitama, written in this formal way, like his sonnets, are exercises in absurdity. You read the poem, we were talking about this today, it's very hard to grasp where is Beitama trying to lead us with this sonnet. So, what could be the ultimate way of achieving meaning, and what we also can perceive as a thinking machine, could become a way of breaking the laws of meaning. And this is what became for me so interesting. So this is what I wanted to talk about tonight, how the poetry that in Latin America had been written during the past 100 years has been a progression towards the loss of meaning through the formal aspect of poetry writing. This is really interesting for me, and I've been following several poets that wrote sonnets, formal poetry, really among them of the famous Orpheus sonnet. And I found the same thing in German poetry of the 20s. And it happens again and again that you find this formal way of writing as a matter of dissolution of meaning. That's what happened to me, and at one point, what I had acquired as a producer of meaning, for me became like a meaningless, empty shell. So in that empty shell, I started to instill this life of the inner city which became one. This is what I found so interesting about the poem. Now, in English poetry, I found a couple of poets that did the same thing. In the West, in this book by Eliot, I was reading the Alfred Prufrock poem, and I found that Eliot also was making fun of formal poetry and of rhyme in the same way that the Latin American poets were doing. So this is what I wanted to point out today concerning the formal aspect of poetry and how producer of meaning could become absolutely a conflict. And this is what happened with me. No, I don't have any poems with me. Yes, you do. You have a whole book. Well, what are these? Yes, well, yes. You have one yet? No, I don't have one yet. Yes, please. Yes. These are